The Birds was not just a thriller about nature's revenge, it was a psychological experiment wrapped in feathers and terror. Alfred Hitchcock did not want to scare audiences with monsters. He wanted to make them afraid of the ordinary, of the sky itself. What unfolded behind the scenes was pure chaos, injuries, panic, real birds attacking actors. So today we are diving into 20 weird facts about the Birds that even die-hard Hitchcock fans may not know. Number 20. The script had no ending. Hitchcock's script for The Birds famously ends without an ending. No closure, no safety. The studio begged him to include one final shot of the birds flying away. He refused. He wanted the terror to feel infinite. In the shooting draft, the film ends with the car driving away, surrounded by motionless birds. A haunting silence replacing music. This was not an artistic accident. It was psychological warfare. Hitchcock wanted the audience to carry the unease home, to look at every bird differently after leaving the theater. Universal executives hated it. They warned him it would confuse people. But Hitchcock did not care. He was obsessed with ambiguity. The silence at the end was not just sound design. It was punishment. Number 19. The seagull that would not die during filming. The crew trained hundreds of real seagulls, ravens, and crows. But one gull, is named Archie, became infamous. It refused to follow commands and kept flying directly into the camera lens. Hitchcock nicknamed it the Saboteur. The problem was so bad that they had to build wire mesh around the lighting rigs to stop Archie from attacking the crew. In one terrifying moment, Archie dove straight at actress Tippi Hedren's face during a close-up, leaving her with minor cuts. Hitchcock laughed it off and said it added realism. The gull became a legend on set, appearing in multiple shots because they could not control it. To this day, eagle-eyed viewers claim you can spot Archie in nearly every attack sequence, the bird that simply refused to die. Number 18. Hitchcock lied to his star. Tippi Hedren was promised that most of the bird attacks would be mechanical. When the final week of shooting arrived, Hitchcock called her to stage 28 and revealed the truth. Real birds had been ordered instead. They tied live gulls to her costume and hurled them toward her. The sequence lasted 5 days. She was clawed, bruised, and nearly blinded. One bird's beak narrowly missed her eye. When she collapsed in exhaustion, Hitchcock finally ended the shoot, not out of mercy, but because he had the shot he wanted. Hedren later said she was hospitalized for a week. The betrayal broke their working relationship forever. It was not direction. It was psychological torture disguised as cinema. Number 17. The schoolhouse was real. The school where the children flee from attacking crows was not a studio set. It was a real building in Bodega Bay, California. The crew converted the local schoolhouse and used actual students as extras. What audiences never knew is that the building was rumored to be haunted. Local residents refused to enter it after dark. Crew members claimed to hear scratching sounds at night and flapping wings in empty rooms. Hitchcock loved it. He told his assistant to record ambient noises there to use in the final sound mix. During filming, the birds perched eerily on the jungle gym outside, a scene that happened spontaneously. No trainer placed them there. They landed on their own. Hitchcock called it a miracle of menace. Number 16. There was never any music. You might think the Birds had a chilling musical score, but there was no traditional music at all. Instead, Hitchcock used an experimental electronic soundtrack created by the German company Remy Gassman and Oscar Sala. They called their device the Mixter Trotonium, a machine that manipulated bird sounds into shrieking tones. Hitchcock wanted chaos without melody, fear without rhythm. Every screech, flutter, and shrill was engineered, not composed. It was not background sound. It was psychological noise designed to crawl under your skin. Composer Bernard Herrmann, who had scored Psycho, acted only as a consultant. Hitchcock told him, "The birds are the music." That decision changed film sound forever, creating dread through silence and distortion instead of strings and horns. Number 15. Mechanical birds malfunctioned constantly. Hitchcock relied on mechanical birds for close-ups and stunt scenes, but the results were often disastrous. The prop birds were rigged with motors to flap their wings, but they broke down almost every day. Oil leaked onto costumes, feathers fell off mid-take, and one malfunctioning raven burst into flames when a motor overheated. Crew members scrambled with fire extinguishers while Hitchcock calmly lit his cigar and told them to keep rolling. The smell of burnt feathers filled the set for hours. In some shots, you can see fake birds twitching awkwardly because their wiring shorted out. Instead of scrapping the footage, Hitchcock kept it all. He said it made the attacks feel more real. It was chaos by design, and that chaos became part of the film's chilling realism. Number 14. A fire almost destroyed the set. During the famous gas station explosion scene, Hitchcock used real fire effects and miniature fuel tanks. But one spark ignited faster than expected, and a wall of flames roared toward the camera crew. The heat was so intense that lenses cracked and makeup melted off extras. The director of photography ordered everyone to evacuate, but Hitchcock stood his ground, shouting directions through the smoke. It was pure cinematic madness. Firefighters were called to stop the blaze before it reached nearby buildings. After the chaos, Hitchcock reviewed the dailies and smiled. The footage was perfect. What was nearly a tragedy became one of the most haunting sequences in cinema history. The inferno on screen was not an illusion, it was a near disaster captured in real time. Number 13. Tippi Hedren's costume never recovered. The green suit that Tippi Hedren wears during most of the film was destroyed repeatedly. She wore the same outfit for nearly a week of bird attack scenes, soaked in fake blood and dirt. By day 3, the wool fabric had stiffened from sweat and debris, making it almost impossible to move. The costume department made several identical copies, but Hitchcock insisted on using the original. He said continuity demanded it. By the end of filming, the suit was in tatters, reeking of decay and bird droppings. Hedren called it a nightmare to wear. It became a symbol of her suffering, both physical and emotional. Today, that same outfit sits preserved in the Academy Museum, still stained and torn like a relic of cinematic cruelty. Number 12. The live birds were drunk on brandy. To keep the birds calm between takes, trainers came up with a strange solution. They fed the gulls and ravens a mixture of grain soaked in brandy. It dulled their instincts just enough to make them manageable. But the side effects were unpredictable. Some birds stumbled off perches, others suddenly sobered up and attacked. The crew started calling them Hitchcock's flying drunks. In one scene, a raven crashed into a spotlight and shattered it, sending glass across the set. Animal handlers begged Hitchcock to switch to models, but he refused. He believed real fear required real wings. The drunken birds made shooting unpredictable and dangerous. Yet their chaotic energy added something unnatural, something hypnotic that no special effect could ever reproduce. Number 11. Hitchcock played mind games with the crew. Hitchcock loved control, but his methods were unsettling. He would walk onto set without warning and quietly move props or change marks before shooting began. Actors hit the wrong spots, lighting missed its cues, and chaos unfolded. He called it keeping them sharp. He also refused to explain his directions, forcing everyone to interpret his cryptic commands. Crew members said he treated the set like a laboratory for fear. He wanted tension not just on camera, but in the air around it. Even his famous cameo was filmed in near silence, so no one knew what was happening until the next day. The confusion was deliberate. Hitchcock believed unpredictability made performances authentic. He was not directing a film. He was conducting an experiment in human anxiety. Now we are halfway through the chaos. Before we continue to the top 10, go ahead and like and subscribe, because the next facts will uncover the darkest manipulations and haunting aftermath that lingered long after the cameras stopped rolling. Number 10. The crows turned on their trainer. During one chaotic day on set, the trained crows refused to follow their cues and instead attacked their own handler. Alfred Hitchcock watched from behind the camera as the birds swooped and clawed at his face, forcing the idiotic man to dive behind a prop wall. The trainer shouted that the birds had gone rogue, but Hitchcock refused to stop filming. He said the panic looked authentic and ordered the cameramen to keep rolling. When the crew finally rescued the man, he had deep scratches across his neck and arms. The footage of those same crows was later used in the attack on the schoolchildren. What audiences never realized was that the terror they saw on screen was not performance. It was real fear captured from a set spinning out of control. Number 9. The leading man couldn't stand. The Birds' Rod Taylor, who played the film's male lead, despised the birds from the very beginning. He complained that their claws tore through his wardrobe and that the handlers cared more about the animals than the actors. In one scene, Taylor had to protect Tippi Hedren from a barrage of flying gulls while shielding his own face from injury. His frustration boiled over when a bird sliced open his hand mid-take. Hitchcock simply said, "Use it." Taylor's pain became part of the performance. By the end of filming, he refused to shoot any more scenes involving live birds. His contract forced him to finish, but he never forgave the experience. Years later, he called the production controlled chaos and said no actor truly walked away unharmed. Number 8. The town of Bodega Bay never recovered. When the Birds premiered The Real Residents of Bodega Bay were furious. Hitchcock had disrupted their quiet community for months and filled it with noise, smoke, and frightened animals. Locals complained that gulls became aggressive for weeks after filming because the constant feeding had altered their behavior. Tourists flocked to the area expecting danger and chaos. The town's image changed overnight. It went from a peaceful fishing village to a symbol of dread. Hitchcock never returned. Yet the town remains forever linked to the film, with souvenir shops still selling fake seagull feathers and attack posters. The Birds left a permanent scar on Bodega Bay, both real and imagined. What was once a sleepy coastal town became a living monument to fear. Number 7. Alfred Hitchcock used live bird sounds for hours. Hitchcock wanted audiences to feel trapped inside the soundscape of panic. He recorded live birds for hours, layering their shrieks into an endless echo that played during editing sessions. He told the sound engineers to mix the chaos so that no single noise could be identified. The effect was overwhelming. Editors said they began hearing phantom flutters in their sleep after weeks of exposure. The sound design was not meant to scare, but to exhaust. Hitchcock called it psychological pressure. The sound engineers begged for silence between takes, but he refused. He wanted them to live in the world he was creating. When the Birds finally premiered, audiences covered their ears in the theater. The sound itself had become an invisible weapon. Number 6. A bird attacked Hitchcock himself. During a test shoot, Hitchcock stood near the camera as handlers prepared a group of crows. One bird broke free and clawed his forehead before flying into the rafters. Blood ran down the director's face, but he never flinched. He simply wiped it away and told the crew to continue. Witnesses said he laughed afterward and claimed the bird was only doing its job. The moment became a running joke on set, but the incident revealed something deeper. Hitchcock was not afraid of pain. He was fascinated by it. The attack seemed to confirm his theory that chaos made great cinema. The director who built fear into every frame had finally been bitten by his own creation, and he loved it. Number 5. The makeup artist suffered a breakdown. The relentless filming schedule and disturbing atmosphere pushed even the crew to their limits. The lead makeup artist who handled Tippi Hedren's bruises and fake blood suffered a nervous collapse during the final attack scenes. He told colleagues he could not tell which injuries were real anymore. Hitchcock refused to stop production. He replaced the artist within hours and continued shooting while the man was taken to a hospital. The stress was unbearable. Everyone on set was breathing in feather dust and paint fumes. Crew members described the stage as a war zone filled with screams and the constant flapping of wings. The breakdown wasn't an isolated event. It was a warning sign. The production itself had become what Hitchcock wanted to capture on film: the slow unraveling of sanity. Number 4. Hitchcock used caged ravens as decoration. To unsettle the cast, Hitchcock ordered dozens of live ravens to be kept around the studio corridors. He claimed they helped the actors stay in character. The birds squawked day and night, echoing through the halls of Universal Studios. Crew members said they couldn't eat lunch without hearing wings beating above them. The smell was unbearable. Tippi Hedren once walked into her dressing room to find a raven sitting on her mirror watching her. Hitchcock said it was her good luck charm. It wasn't. The constant presence of the birds blurred the line between set and reality. Even when cameras weren't rolling, the terror continued. The studio cleaners refused to enter the soundstage after dark. The ravens had become Hitchcock's living props of dread. Number 3. The trailer was filmed after the movie. Most movie trailers teased the story, but Hitchcock's preview for The Birds didn't show a single frame from the film. Instead, it featured Hitchcock himself standing in front of bird cages giving a dry lecture about humanity's treatment of animals. Then a shadow of a bird swooped across his face. It ended with him pretending to be attacked. Audiences laughed, but they didn't realize the trailer was filmed after production, when Hitchcock was exhausted and bitter from the chaos. He used humor to hide the darkness that had unfolded behind the scenes. It was a parody of control. The man who orchestrated terror on set was mocking himself. The trailer became one of the most unsettling pieces of film marketing ever made. Number 2. Tippi Hedren never forgave Hitchcock. The torture she endured during filming left permanent scars. After The Birds wrapped, Hedren swore she would never work with Hitchcock again, but she was under contract. When she refused another project, he froze her career for years, refusing to release her. She later said Hitchcock's obsession turned into punishment. Every success she tried to achieve afterward was shadowed by his control. It wasn't just a director manipulating a performance. It was a man trying to own fear itself. The Birds launched her to stardom, but at a devastating price. Even decades later, she admitted she still flinched when hearing the sound of wings. The film that made her famous also haunted her forever. Number 1. No one knew what it really meant. Critics argued endlessly about what The Birds symbolized. Was it revenge of nature? A warning about human arrogance? Hitchcock never answered. He said explanation was death to mystery. Scholars searched for patterns in the attacks and found none. The randomness made it more disturbing. Birds turning against humanity wasn't a metaphor. It was chaos made visible. Audiences left theaters silent, afraid to look up at the sky. Hitchcock's genius was not in answers, but in discomfort. He created fear without logic and turned the familiar into the terrifying. The Birds wasn't about animals at all. It was about us, fragile, unpredictable, and one step away from losing control. Bonus: the final shot that never existed. Hitchcock originally planned one last scene. The car would drive past the Golden Gate Bridge completely covered in perched birds, but Universal refused to fund it, saying it was impossible to achieve safely. Hitchcock cut it, but kept the image in his head for the rest of his life. He once told an interviewer he still saw that bridge in his dreams, blanketed in feathers and silence. The world conquered by its own creation. The missing shot became a ghost-haunting film history. It was never filmed, but everyone who worked on The Birds swore they could imagine it. A perfect ending that existed only in fear and memory. The Birds wasn't just a movie. It was a psychological battlefield that blurred art and cruelty. Every scream, every shadow, every flutter came from real pain. Hitchcock's masterpiece proved that terror doesn't need monsters. Sometimes all it takes is a pair of wings. If you learned something new, go ahead and like and subscribe, because more forgotten secrets of classic cinema are coming soon. And remember, when the sky grows quiet, don't look up.